This is our new sales training, and I think I've covered similar topic before, but it's important to go over and to continue to go over. I am going to go over hats. This is not an acronym. It is a metaphor. It will run out eventually, as all metaphors do, but I hope it can hold. If you prefer to use the imagery and don't chuckle of balls in the air, that can work as well, but mostly this is where I want to belong. My balls in the air, we're talking about juggling. When you got a lot that you're juggling, if you're a great juggler, if you're just learning, man, it's a struggle with two. All of us can do one. All of us can take one ball and juggle it. You'll drop it now and then, but on the whole, you can do this pretty much forever. Most of us can learn to do two. I wish I had another pin I'd show. Some can do three. I never did get at it, but I never want to learn how to just, it doesn't matter. But you all know the image, you've all seen the videos. You get some guys that are so practiced they can do 5 or 6. Then you get that guy that makes, the old Johnny Carson Tonight Show days where he's doing 20. Well, you don't keep picking up, somebody's got to throw them into you. That's an interesting image, by the way. Think about that. Your 3, you can do. Guy that even does 10, I've seen him stack them and really get good at popping. But eventually, somebody's got to throw one into you. You not only have so much going, you can't even get it from the start. It has to be brought in. But the guy that's got him throwing them in and he's got all these going or all these plates, however you want to do it, I don't care who you are, how practiced you are, how great you are, eventually you're going to drop a ball. So the question is, what do you do on that situation and how do you get to do less? That is where we're going to go to how many hats do you wear in your job. When you first start, and I'm not even talking about, although I really should, matter of fact, you know what I am going to? Home life. You take care, you are the caretaker. I don't care if you rent an efficiency and you have 1 cup, 1 dish, and 1 spork. You still got to clean them. Or if you have a mansion and you have a yard, you have to mow it, you have to weed it, you have to fertilize it, you have to do the maintenance, you have to fix the clapboard when the squirrel chewed through, whatever, you are the caretaker. You are a relationship. Are you married? Are you single? Are you dating? Is it just talking to the neighbor when you come in? At some level, you're dealing with relationships. If you have kids, let alone a spouse, this takes time and energy. If it is the kids, at what stage? Are they little? That's a lot of care. We just had one, oh, he's only 3 months old. Okay, you don't have homework, you don't have school, you don't have time and places. So much more exhausting. They have to be with you constantly. They're waking up in the hours. You're not getting much sleep. There is not a stage where it gets easy. Are they in elementary school? We're running around everywhere with Little League and all this stuff. Are they in junior high? Holy cow, I thought Little League was a lot of involvement and homework is brutal. Are they in high school? Now it's not even worse because I don't even understand the homework. I forgot all that and it's too hard for me now. So you've got so much there. Spouse? Dude, forget your spouse and you're going to have it even harder because now you're dealing with alimony and an ex-wife or an ex-husband and taking care of your kids in a split time. So much worse. All this has to be nurtured. All this has to be cared. Social life, involvement, serving. Are you coaching a league? Are you giving to church? Whatever it is, this is 500 hats. Now let's go to professional. At one point, and yes, the metaphor starts to fall apart, I'm going to try to kind of change it. You had one big hat fits best. But we're going to say you had one hat that had all these other little hats all stacked in. Well, you got 20 hats going, but you're in a perfect room, your hair's just right, the hats are brand new, so they're all stacked okay. And even though every now and then you got to do the wobble a little, you can wear all the hats. But as you get bigger, As you get busier, as you get going, it gets harder. The winds are blowing. You're trying to actually get up and walk from your desk somewhere else. Again, try to follow the metaphor. It starts to become more. Or as you have to change them out, because the better metaphor is probably to say you have 20 hats on your desk, but half the day you're not wearing one at all. So it's, oh, I need this one. Put it on, you take care of the business, you take it off. That one, put it on, take it off, and go. Get to where you got to put on two at the same time, it gets harder. Get to where you have one hat on constantly nonstop through the day, and you got to put another one on, it gets harder. Get to where you have that one on constantly, this one on most of the day, that one on a big part of the day, and at any given time you got to take 15 others and put them on, it gets harder. Get to where you have 5 or 6 that you have to wear constantly through the day, and it gets kind of confusing. You start with one hat. It can be as multidimensional as you want. Well, here's a tough thing we have to admit. As this grows, something's got to give. Now, it's very common we start to give here. Beware giving up everything there. I've done it. It can have repercussions. Really have, and it really can. Caretaker is one of the first, at least for me. When I was single, hire a maid. When I was married and wife got too busy, we hired a maid. I haven't mowed my own lawn in so long that I hope I never have to, because I'm not sure I remember how. Relationships, you give them up. To a great extent, you give them up. I haven't said I have a personal, true, just friend, close friend, other than my wife, in over 20 years. I have friends. I have relationships. I have people I consider good, close friends. But the reality is, if something ever happened business-wise, we would part. It's like that dear friend of high school that you're 39, you haven't seen in 12 years. You just kind of separate out. So, and I'm not going to say they're not true friends, but an actual pal I hang out with, time to play poker and that stuff, you gave that one up. Kids, you hire a tutor. You hire somebody to do other things so your wife has the time to run them around. You make all the games you can, but you miss some. You have to start balancing, but you give up a lot of these hats. You give up too much of your social. Beware, in my case anyway, of giving up too much of serving, because you'll become too self-centered and it'll hurt. But I want to go on this one. Professionally, you're going to reach a day, ooh, I wonder if I can actually draw a hat. There you go, that's a hat. Where you have all these hats, but it's full. You can't do it all. You're missing something on every one. Let's try to make it, to hold the metaphor as best I can. Call them good old-fashioned 10-gallon hats. But to fit on your head, I've only got 2 gallons left. You're going to reach a point where you're full. Either this one has grown and it requires more of your time, or these 3 have grown and require more of your time, or whatever. But you're going to have a new hat that you have to start wearing. You're eventually going to have to give them up. And the hardest thing in the world is to give them up. You broke that hat in. You made that hat work. You have tried to give it to somebody else and they look terrible in it. To make a hat real is what we're talking about. You're the salesperson. You have developed the system for sales. You have the sales process nailed. You own this. You make, let's just do straight sales for a minute. You get the lead in the door. So I've got the lead. You got to enter the lead. You got to call the lead. You got to schedule the appointment. You got to do the presentation. You got to do follow-up. You have to sign the contract. You got to nurture the beginning. You have to nurture the long-term process. And lastly, because this is where I'll end it for now, you have to get referrals. Sales processes vary. Some have more, some have less. But as a rule, most have these. And every one of these, regardless how you want to break it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hats. This is just sales. I say that because I want to say as you start to succeed, as you start to excel, as you start to be great, you have administration that's going to start to be placed on you. You have management that's going to be placed on you. You have employees that have to be taken care of, which is where this is going to lead in a second. You have training that's going to be on you. You have expansion that's going to be on you. You have all the things, the beautiful trappings that come with success. They're going to be put upon you. You're going to be doing so exceptional that this alone is feeding this so much that you can't handle it all. I have a trim carpenter like that. He has worked to add employees so he can do more than 2 homes at a time. Because I have literally 15 to 20 people that he is their #1 choice. He's even raised price, and he was able to take the 15 to 20 down to 13 to 18. But they still want him, and he can only take 2. Now, if he can figure out how to duplicate himself, he'd do more. Difference is they hire him because he's an artist. He's a craftsman. He can't figure out how to duplicate what he can do on that end. So this guy turns business away. He has no real choice. He has to pass on it. Picasso could train all the painters he wanted. He was still just him. Nobody could do it quite exactly like he could. I use that name because it's out there. I'm not really a big fan, but you get my point. In this scenario, you're going to have to make the choice to stop things here. In other words, this is a hat, it's done, I'm taking no more. This is what I can handle, and so be it. And that's okay. But assuming you have a service, a product, or a quality, or just a desire to do all you can, you are unwilling to turn somebody away. You are a health industry. And by gum, it doesn't matter. You tell me I can only cure 5 people. There's 7 people at the door, and I'm not going to look at 2 people and say who's going to die. I'm going to find a way to handle them all. This is where you got to start giving up hats. Are you going to give up the lead, entering the league, calling the lead, scheduling the appointment? Are you going to handle this much yourself? Or are you just going to take care of this? How many people are you going to hire to fill those? Because this is the hardest part and the quirkiest thing. Eventually, you're just going to hire 1. Then, if you've done your job correctly, you're going to do so well, you're going to have to hire 1 just for each of them. Then you might get to where you have to hire 2 for certain elements, and it just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading. Now, your hardest part is who gets what, when, where, how, and why and how. Number 1, I challenge you, what are you best at? And I'm going to be honest, there's 2 trains of thoughts. If you are best at presentation, thought process number 1 is that's the first hat to give up. Why? Because you're most capable of training somebody to do what you excel at. You're most capable of stepping in and helping out in an emergency at what you excel at. So hire that area, handle your weaknesses. Negative of that, this person will never be you. They will never be as good as you. They will not be as competent as you, and you're going to want to kill them because you know they missed a deal you wouldn't have missed. You know they did it wrong. You know they opened you up to liability. You know they're not as good as you. You're Wilt Chamberlain. Your son's not Wilt Chamberlain. You're Brett Favre. I don't care. Pick who you want. They aren't you. They may be better than you in their own way. You're going to have to give some freedom and you're going to have to manage. Now, thought process number 2 is hire to your weakness. If I hate nurturing and chasing the referrals, it wears me out. I like fast relationships. I like to go. Hire to that. Stay where you're strong because you can carry more load here. You can carry more hats more easily if they're the ones that you are most competent with. So pass off the weak one. I tend to go that route personally. I absolutely get the value of the other. Your struggle here is it's harder for you to train. The positive is you're a lot more open to allowing them to spread their wings and create their own area. Because your biggest struggle is they're not you, they don't do it as good as you, and they're not as capable. The hardest part of that is your ego. Because you think it has to be done your way. You think it has to go your way. You think it has to process your way. And you're going to want them to do so. And in all sincerity, there's a big part of you deep down that doesn't actually want them to be better than you because that stinks. Kill your ego at the door. Shut it down. Their success is yours. You're still the top dog in the big hat. And I'll drop back a teeny bit to the Picasso element. The guy that trained him, because he didn't just wake up and teach himself. He went to an art school. He studied in an art school. Do you think the guy training him thought he would be better, Picasso would be better than himself someday? You think he truly, deep down in every element, wanted him to? But he gave him the opportunity. He gave him some gifts, and then he let him adapt and apply his own views and his own vision, his own gifts as God gave him. And look what they had. Matter of fact, that guy made even more money because he had more students at his school. Is he as famous today? What do they care? You know what? He and Picasso both have the same knowledge of that. They're not around to understand. During the life when it actually affected, tough concept by the way, accept it. During the life when it actually affected him, he was blessed by it. Be blessed by it. Train them, teach them, guide them. Cut them loose and let them fly. But guys, don't wait too long because you will get to where your quality suffers. If you are a 10 out of 10 and the person you got to hire to wear one of your hats at best is only going to be an 8, you will serve a higher quality product doing so. Because if you're wearing too much, the way you suffer is you offer lower quality. And you are a 7 across the board. Better to be an 8 across the board. Pass off the hats. Figure out your path, figure out your system. Are you going to hire to your weakness or are you going to hire to your strength? Train them, set them free. If you keep coming in, and this is where I'm going to end, and I mean this, if you keep coming in and taking the hat off their head to put it on yours, what'd you hire them for in the first place? That is harder. It is harder to go and take the hat off and put it on and then put it back on than it was just wear the hat in the first place. Be my trim carpenter. Turn people down. Accept that this is as big a field as you're ever going to farm and enjoy the heck out of it. Balance your life. There is a beauty to that. Biblically speaking, there's huge wisdom to it. Balance your life. That's fine, but you're going to balance it one way or another. You will be brought into balance. Nature will bring you into balance. Do it wisely. But when you pass the task, pass it. Wear them all or hand them off. Now again, the metaphor starts to break down. I'm not saying you're not the supervisor. I'm not saying you're not the advisor. I'm saying don't ever go and just pick up the hat and put it on yourself. Or you would have been much better served, your client would have been better served, and that poor person's life that you hired would have been better served if you had just kept it in the first place. I hope this helps. I find it incredibly important. I guarantee you someday I will figure out another way to teach it yet again. God bless, guys. Have a great day.